Very good afternoon, everybody. Today, welcome you all to the third session of this 5-day workshop. Those who are watching this on YouTube, of course, if you like the channel, subscribe. And also, watch the previous videos, watch the coming forth videos. This is the third session, total of 5 sessions are there, right? Today, our topic of discussion is going to be around options. And since yesterday, I have some questions of some students. If anybody wants to ask any questions, you can ask and go ahead. So the very first question I'm getting, since this is the question around the topic, I'm going to take this up. Please discuss the correlation of call and put options with the same strike price and expiry. Okay. Now, first of all, everybody who thinks that there is some sort of a correlation between call and put, okay, of course, call stand for when the market goes up and put stand for when the market goes down, puts increase. So obviously there is some sort of a negative correlation. There's some, if this goes up, that has to go down, this goes down, that has to go up. That's like pretty much price related, okay. But more than even having a knowledge of what is the correlation between the calls and puts, you must also understand how the calls and puts are related to the price. Okay. Now, I'm going to discuss this at 3 levels. And these 3 levels are different levels of depth. Okay. The first level is the level when I'm talking about the contractual agreement. Right. The second level is going to be understanding how the price and options relationship are. And third is going to be, as Manveer ji has asked, about the options open interest, which is quite a famous topic now, right? And believe me, I've been reading options open interest since I was in the first year of my college, and it has been quite interesting to understand how the world has come up with sometimes very good things and sometimes nonsensical things about option open interest. Okay, so we'll go ahead with that. Hello and good afternoon to everybody. I'm sorry, couldn't greet everyone individually. Okay, so let's start with the first layer of how understanding the contractual agreement exists, right? So let's take for example this scenario. I'm going to go to the options chain on the NSE website. Okay. Now we all know that options are derivatives just like futures. And what do you mean by derivatives? Derivatives colloquially mean the price of something has been derived by something else, right? Colloquially means price of something has been derived by something, right? So there are essence around understanding these instruments which need to be very clear. So at one point of time, suppose somebody over here has a restaurant and suppose I'll pick up someone, I'll pick up Nitin. Suppose Nitin has a restaurant, he has a chain of restaurants, and in this chain of restaurants he is actually selling potato fries, okay. So he needs a lot of potatoes in the stock all the time because his chain of restaurant is about potato fries. Now if potato prices go up, his cost of making those potato prices go up, right? And therefore to hedge that cost, he can go to somebody, like for example me, he can come to me, and suppose I am a farmer who is, who is actually cultivating potatoes, okay, and I've got a lot of stock in reserve, etc. And at a particular price, I want to sell the potatoes as fast as possible. At a particular price, he wants to buy the potatoes as fast as possible, so that any price reaction doesn't hurt our overall business. So me and Nathan can get into a contractual agreement about, say, for 100 tons of potatoes, okay. He is a big restaurant owner and I am a big farmer, so 100 tons of potatoes. So after we do that, okay, the fluctuation does not hurt either of us, and whatever the price difference is, so if the potato prices goes down, he actually goes in the market and buys potatoes, for cheaper price. So the difference he pays to me. If the potato prices go up, I pay the difference to him. That is how hedging is done. Derivatives are, for derivatives to be used practically, people are either hedging, speculating, or doing arbitrage. Now, this contractual agreement is for sure supposed to be an obligation. And when it comes to when it comes to futures, these were called forward contracts, and futures were nothing but just an exchange related thing. When we started having exchanges, we wanted to standardize, because me and Nitin could exchange our contracts with anybody else because it was standardized, the number of lots, etc. Okay. Now, coming to options, what happens is the same contractual agreement exists, but it's just that when the option is in the money, it becomes active. It starts behaving like a future when the option is in the money. Now, in front of you, you see all these strike prices. Okay. In front of you, you see all these strike prices of different categories, right? And at every difference of 50 points is there. Earlier it used to be 100 points in case of Nifty. And these strike prices options, when we talk about calls, obviously we all know it's something to related to market going up. So if somebody goes and buys a call contract, right, at the last traded price is 24, okay, and since today is the expiry itself, right? Oh, sorry. Tomorrow is the expiry itself. We have just got 1 day left for the expiry, right? Since 1 day is left for the expiry, please understand one thing. The option premiums are very, very less, because you give a matter of just 1 day to find out if this will be in the money or out of the money. The same thing, if I go to the September end option, that is exactly, even 1 month later from now, approximately almost 1 month later from now, September end. At that time, if I have to go and buy the same strike price, I'll have to pay expensive price, because I'm giving the market so much time to decide if this option will be in the money or out of the money, right? From a contractual agreement point of view, this is what options mean. To find out whether it will be in the money and out of the money, and how much are you ready to risk to find that out, right? But from the point of view of not looking at it as a contractual agreement, but looking at it as a agreement that involves the buying and selling within the day, for example, okay, which involves buying and selling within the day. There is a relationship of the movement of the price of the option and the price of the underlying asset. In this case, we're going to talk about Nifty. So I'm going to pull up some charts of options right now, and then you can see how these options tend to behave. Okay, just one moment, please. Okay. So the outcome here. We are going to take up some multiple strike prices and compare the charts. And then I will tell you the relationship, how it behaves, right? How it tends to behave. So, too many things on my computer right now. Just give me a moment as I set up the options. Any questions in between you can ask. Sorry, it's just going to take one moment, because the software of webinar as well as the software of the computer is, the charting is going on together. We're going to take a moment. You can ask any questions if you like. Yes. Okay, so yes, I did have the MCX chart in front of me, and we were analyzing that few days back in the I told you I have my regular meetings with all the past students and all the current students. So we had a meeting over there, and right after that, one of the students had posted, and it was on my radar also. So MCX, yes, it's a very clear breakout. We'll take that chart up. We'll take that chart up. Whether by using charts can we trade an option? Absolutely, Mr. Gaurav. I trade in options using the Nifty chart and whichever stock I'm looking at, for example. No doubt about it. You can use the charts to trade the derivatives because the price relationship is there. Okay, the relationship of the price and the derivative and the price of the underlying asset. So for example, I'm looking at the 60 minutes chart of Nifty. Okay, now suppose I'm going to go now to my list of options. So I've got like a list of options over here. So I'm going to choose which strike price I want to take up. So let's take the puts. Since the market is going down, let's see how the puts have behaved, then we'll take up calls. Okay, then do we take the expiry, which is the near month expiry, or the next month expiry? So the near one would be absolutely tomorrow, which is full 2 days if you consider the morning from now. And or I take the next one, which will be 5th September. So let's take both. Let's take one of each. And since we're talking about 11,016 Nifty right now, so let's take the 11,000 put of September. So we get a fair idea about how it is when it is almost on the money, right? And here we go. This is how the put looks like, right? This is the 15-minute chart. And control and Nifty. I'm going to correlate the two, put these side by side and show you certain features of the chart. Okay. So we see that the market has been going down after some distribution which happened over a period of yesterday, and today morning it started going down. Okay. Not getting too technical about it, but yesterday since I was speaking of this phenomena that possibly I'm expecting the market to not show so much steam or take some resistance probably, although I was not clear because by the time we were in the session the formations had not been made, but on a subjective level I spoke about it, if some of you remember. Okay, now what are these things which you see over here? Open interest change, PC ratio, implied volatility, delta, gamma, rho, theta, vega. What are these? Now let's understand one thing, that the relationship of the price of the underlying asset and the relationship of the option itself have dependency on certain factors. And what are these factors? Obviously, any layman can say those factors are, sir, the strike price of the option, the movement of the particular script which we are talking about, the particular index which we are talking about. You can all say that, not an issue. But these are just basic factors. But what are the, which really don't give us any mathematical input? Getting the point? It is just telling me where the option is placed. It is not giving me any kind of a mathematical input. So when this kind of a situation is there, where I see no mathematical input, now how do I really analyze? How do I really make a subjective estimate of how this option is going to behave? Right? As we speak, it is even thudding down, and the option price is even risen up higher. Right? So we can see the behavior of the option very, very clearly as the price goes down. And one more thing, if you notice, that as the price went up, as the price went down initially slowly and it had not gone so much down, as it is coming more closer to 11,000, you see the smoothness with which the options are moving is much higher. Okay, much higher smoothness with which the option is moving. I'm going to take up a slide and I'm going to tell you what are these different factors that impact and how we look at them. Okay. And these are factors which are not particularly anywhere written like this. Of course, they are formalized because it's coming out of the option pricing theory. But type 1 and type 2 are the name I have given. Okay. So these are what makes option type 1 factors and type 2 factors. Other than these, the basic factors, is just like, I don't think you are really need to be told, because since we are not in a proper class, we're doing it at a real pace. So I'm not going to go through all of these, and how much ever details I can go with in type 1 and type 2 factors, I will try and go. Okay. So these are the two factors. Okay. Yes, of course, Manveer Singh ji, these factors are covered in my course. And although, I want to spend more time with options today, so I'll just tell you all in a nutshell. If you go to my website, technicallysorted.com, you will find what is happening in the course in each and every session, what will happen. It's written in details. Okay, so not to worry. We have options in the course also. 2 sessions properly. So type 1 factors like delta, gamma, and vega. Okay, and type 2 factors are theta, implied volatility, and rho. So there's a model of option pricing called the Black-Scholes-Merton model. Right? And according to that model of option pricing, one of the key factors which govern the pricing of the option is delta. Okay. Now what do I mean by delta? Delta simply means that when I'm going to see Nifty move by say 40 points, and I take up an option with a certain strike price, and Nifty has moved 40 points. Say I'm taking a put. Nifty has gone down by 40 points and the put has increased by 20 points. That is half of how much Nifty has fallen. Right? So the delta is half, or the delta is 0.5. It is basically the ratio or the multiplier with which if I multiply the movement in the stock price to which the option price will move. Okay, so this is the first and one of the most basic factors of option pricing, which is delta. Now, just to come back and take it slow, let's take this example, and we have seen that delta of this particular option with our question, okay, is minus 0.43. Now, let me mark this down for all of you. This is the delta I'm looking at, minus 0.43. Okay. Now, why is it written in negative? Because anyway, market if goes down, only then puts increase, so negative cancels and becomes positive, right? So minus 0.3, minus 0.43 is the delta of this option. Okay, that means if the Nifty tends to move 100 points at this point, the delta could, because of delta being minus 0.43, the option will move 43 points. Okay. Now let's see how far this has been true for today. Let's see how far this has been true for today. And I'm asking you to help me with some calculations now, right? So let me assume, let's take this high for example, and just for clarity's sake, this high is 11,092, okay? And from 11,092, we are currently at 11,015. So what is the difference between this 11,092 and 11,015? Please message me. Okay. So I've got the answer. It's 77. Thank you. Thank you, Nitin. And the next I'm going to take up the different. Let's take this, since the dip happened over here and that was correlated with the pullback over here. Right now I see this was at around 60.5. For easiness sake, let me take as 61. Okay. And 61, and right now we are around, let's say 98. Okay. Since I took 61 here, let me take 98. How much is the difference? 37. So what is the difference between, what is the ratio in which it is moving? If I divide 37 by 77, how much am I going to get? How much am I going to get if I do 37 divided by 77? Generally in our option class, I sit with the Excel sheet and a calculator and everything. But since my software is also running, Okay, the answer is coming to 0.48. Thank you, Nitesh, Sachin, Gaurav, and Nitin. Minus 0.48, as in it's coming to 0.48, so the delta will be minus 0.48, right? And do we notice that this is actually going together? Because yes, we have noticed that the delta is minus 0.47. Wait a second, guys. Yeah. Since we have noticed these factors, yes, minus 0.48 is fair enough, right? Because there are other influences of the price of the option also, right? So apart from delta, what are other factors? So one thing we understood that there is some correlation on the basis of a multiplier called delta. Okay, all these form a part of the Black-Scholes-Merton model. Then, and people who ask me, so how do you choose which option? How do you choose which option to trade? Even if you're trading using the charts, how do you choose? How the calls are so multi-bagger? How do you find multi-bagger? It's got, it's no magic trick. The knowledge of the options, I mix that up with the knowledge of the charts. And when I find the entry triggers, I then know which option to choose in which time of the month. Okay. So let's make it a little more interesting. Let's not get into gamma immediately, it'll become complicated. Let's go into theta for the time being. Then I'll come back to gamma. Okay. Now delta I've discussed, there's some sort of multiplier which decides what is the correlation, what is the multiplier. Everybody till now understood? We set an example also in front of us. We saw an example. Everybody understood? Please raise your hands. Right? It's actually a little bit of a risk taking a big topic in a small session, but I hope I'm able to justice to it, because during the classes generally with 2.5 hours, I go in super details and many examples. Let's take type 2 factors. Let's take one of the type 2 factors, theta. And what is the difference between type 1 and type 2? Type 1 are basically mathematical related to the price, and these are not directly related to the price. That means theta is related to the time. Okay, theta means time premium, time decay. Theta decay is time decay. And although many of you have heard of this factor called theta, but one thing which you all don't understand is that this is what makes the price of the options either expensive or either very, very cheap. And this is a problem. Why? Because if you don't understand this, in the beginning of the month, people are looking for cheaper options, and then they go for options which are far out of the money, and therefore they have less delta. In case of delta, I have not explained all the properties, but the delta, as it is closer to the option, like we saw 11,000 is quite close, the delta was higher, right? And in case of the options, as they go far away, the delta becomes lower, right? So if you just look at this option chain, okay, and I'm going, in case of puts, if I have to go far away, that means I have to go lower. You see the delta is going to become lower over here. You focus from here, right? See the delta is becoming lower as we go up, right? From zero point 0.4, I can also see 0.04. So if you're going to go and buy a 10,700 put, compared to this, the impact will be much more different. And then you've got, just 1 minute please. Just 1 minute. Yeah. And then as we go ahead higher, as in case of quotes, if I go for delta, which is actually much deeper in the money options, as the options become more and more in the money and remain in the money, the delta goes much higher. So we can see the delta going from, changing the pen color, delta going higher over here as we go ahead. You can see also delta going to 0.88, almost close to 1. Can the delta be higher than 1? No, right? But the delta as we go deeper goes closer to 1. In case of puts, we can say -1, right? And that is how it works out, right? So we see that this correlation is pretty much fitting to our understanding now, right? And I'm going to go into, I've just prepared small slides for you, just 2, 3, don't get too complicated, don't think it's too difficult, it's actually very easy once you understand. So let's talk about theta term. Theta is a time decay. So when the beginning of the month, okay, how many of you have can get an idea about if I talk about betting. Okay, I have never betted in cricket, but I'm giving an example of cricket betting. Okay, suppose there are two teams which are playing, and there is a lot of uncertainty going around. Either this team can win or that team can win and stuff like that. But then eventually what happens is that as the 50% of the matches is done, say for example it's a ODI, 50 over ODI, and 20 overs are done, 25 overs are done, okay, the sensitivity of the fluctuation because of that neck to neck match will be less. But if I come to the last 25 overs, if I come to the last 1 over of the match, and both the teams are neck to neck, and if I have to see the betting rates, the sensitivity of the betting rates will be very, very high. Yes or no? Are you all following me? Please raise your hands if you are. The sensitivity of the betting rate will be very, very high. Thank you. Everyone else, Santosh ji, Mr. Prem, Saurabh, Suresh, everyone, Yagnesh ji, right? So as we go towards the end of the expiry in case of markets, the fluctuation is very, very high. And at the same time, the bets become cheaper because you are giving such less time for the market to move. So for which option will the bets become cheaper, and for which option will the bet become very volatile? Let's talk about the cheaper first because it's related to theta. Obviously out of the money options, the bets will become cheaper. Why? Because you don't have much time for the market to move. For the out of the money option to become in the money option, you really need to give that time. And if you do not give that time for the option to move, then how it is going to work out? Are you ready? Are you clear? Right? So the options become cheaper with time, and as out of the money option, they become even super cheap. Right? It's a different matter that they can turn into bigger priced options also later as per the market movement. And the second thing is, this is the situation in case of how we think about the theta. The nose diving impact of this cheapness in price, this fall in price has a nose diving impact towards the end of the last days. In the beginning it's fine, later it's fine, but as we go in the last days, the theta decay has literally got a nose diving impact. And most people trade and overtrade options, they take too much leverage. Why? How do they take too much leverage? Because for the same amount, you can buy more delta. So if you're buying two options of 0.5 delta, you're actually equivalent to one lot. But with the same amount of money which you can buy one lot of Nifty futures, you can buy actually many, many lots of options. So that is where your exposure increases. And when exposure increases, dangerous things can happen, right? So as far as the delta is concerned, I'm going to show you again the delta before I come to the gamma. The delta looks something like this. As I'm going more in the money, the delta increases. In case of puts, it's negative, right? In case of calls, it's different, right? So this is one aspect I must understand. Then what happens? Theta. Theta, I have already shown you the graph. There's a nose diving impact on how much per day the price will lose because of the general time passing. It's just a general thing that time is passing, you've got less time for the market to move, you have less, if I'm in the beginning of the month, if there's out of the money option, 300 points away strike price, obviously I have the entire month for the option to move. But if I'm 2 hours before the expiry, that option will be cheap because there's very less likeliness that that kind of volatility will happen in such less time. And if it does happen on those expiry days, that is when those cheap options become like multi-baggers, etc. Okay. And now the second part of the story, when I spoke about the cricket match, because this will be better understood with the cricket match example, is what happens in the last 25 overs and eventually the last 5 overs and eventually the last 1 over. The sensitivity goes up. Now the sensitivity of the option will go up, understand. But which option? On the money option or in the money option? What do you think, guys? I want answers. I want everybody to participate. Which option do you think will have the sensitivity as higher? The options which are close to the price or options which are away from the price, on the money or out of the money. Because we have just got last 1 hour left. On the money or in the money. And I'm just making it easier, close to the price or far away from the price. Absolutely. Absolutely. About 8 or 9 answers are right. And those who are not participating, no problem. But please absorb and also catch up on the YouTube videos later if you want to. Right? Perfect. Close to the price is the answer. I would not say in the money, but let's say close to the price. Okay. On the money is far more sensitive than in the money or out of the money. And this is how the gamma behaves. This is called gamma. Now don't get too, spooked by this. It's very simple. Just notice these 3 lines are there. Okay. Let's take the black line. Simply the black line. It is showing me for the option which is got for the 3 months. Okay. It's simply showing me the option which is there for 3 months. And therefore, compared to the other two, it is having the lowest time duration left to the expiry. Okay, and this basically gamma in colloquial terms, if I have to say. Okay, I mean, if you come to my course, I'll say it in the most formal, detailed way with all the calculations. But I have to keep it short and crisp right now. So pardon me if I sound colloquial. It means that sensitivity of the increase of delta. Now delta, obviously delta changes with time. If different strike prices are having different delta changes with time, right? If the delta of an option as the price comes closer to the option increases, there is a rate at which it increases. This increasing rate is called gamma. So options increase at an increasing rate and decreasing at a decreasing rate. Delta increases at an increasing rate, decreases at a decreasing rate, and this is called gamma. This rate of sensitivity is highest at any given point of time. This rate of sensitivity is highest in the on the money options. Why? Because one step here and you're that side of the border. One step here and then you're out of the money. One step here you're going to close in the money in expiry. One step here you're going to close out of the money. So the on the money options have a very high sensitivity of that inflection. And the delta curve looks, like this. It's increasing at an increasing rate, and gamma is the highest at the inflection point, which is the highest. And this is on the money option. This inflection point is on the money options. Are you getting my point? So as time passes by, gamma tends to do what? Increase or decrease? Increase. And where does the gamma increase the most? Where is the gamma highest? On the money. And that is why when the last 1 hour of the expiry, when you see tomorrow or any other Thursday, you will notice, oh my God, this is crazy. This is going up, this is going down, this is going up, this is going down. You're going to notice that, right? So let's just check on the markets, how they're doing. Yeah, you're going to notice that. And eventually, what you're going to notice along with that is that as this, these are not just 2 factors. There are other factors also. But how many of you got everything which I told now? So if you mentally compartmentalize, we have discussed 3 things. We have discussed the delta, we have discussed the theta, and we have discussed the gamma. Although in a crisp manner, in a short manner, but I hope everybody is able to understand what I'm trying to say. Raise your hands if you're understanding. I have put hands down. And you can raise your hands if you're understanding. Right? So delta, relationship between the price of the option and the price of the underlying asset, the movement, right? Then gamma is the relationship and how the delta increases, at what rate the delta increases, right? Thank you everyone. Delta increases at what rate? Okay, that we get to know by seeing the gamma. And gamma will obviously be highest on the inflection point of the on the money options. And gamma will increase as we are coming to the last over of the match. Because few steps here and you're in the money, few steps there you're out of the money. So delta is very sensitive. And what makes the delta sensitive? Gamma. Along with that, we've got something called theta. Along with that, we've got something called theta, which is making us understand one thing. That boss, you have to keep the check on the time. You don't have all the time in the world. The option is going to go and become zero, and in the last days it's going to have a nose diving effect. So if you have that nose diving effect, etc., then the impact is something which is very different, right? So these are the different factors. Now along with that, I'll explain the rest in a smaller nutshell. One will be implied volatility. Now implied volatility is something which is very important, and it is related to Vega. Vega or Vega is the multiplier of how much implied volatility increases and decreases, what sensitivity the option has on the option price, what the sensitivity holds, okay, due to the implied volatility. And rho is is related to the interest rate, and since interest rates are not going to majorly change overnight, maximum they change a few basis points, they don't have a very big impact on the option, but they are included in the pricing of the option, okay. So let's understand what implied volatility is. Many of you have seen implied volatility, right? You talk about implied volatility, IV, IVs are high, IVs are low. What is VIX? So when there is a chance, okay, now please listen to me about a new situation. Let's consider a situation that we're going to see a big movement on a certain day. Say for example, Mr. Modi is going to become the Prime Minister. Okay, I mean Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister election results are there. Okay, like we saw on this day. Right? Prime Minister election results are there. The Lok Sabha election results. So in this situation, the market is going to possibly have a big event-based movement, right? That event is going to trigger a lot of movement. So when the market has a high likeliness, or in case there is a quarterly results of a company, right? Quarterly results are there. So there is a likeliness of high level of movement, right? Now in this situation as I'm speaking, when there is expected a high level of movement, do you want to be a buyer of option or do you want to be a seller of option? Do you want to be a buyer of options or do you want to be a seller of options? Please answer me. I hope everyone is paying attention. Okay, I've started getting answers. Do you want to be a buyer of options or do you want to be a seller of options? When there is a big movement on either side which could happen, you want to be a buyer of option or a seller of option? Everybody is saying buyer of option. I just got one answer, seller of option. Why seller of option? We want to be the buyer of option. Why we don't want to be in the seller of option? Because seller of option, and the option goes in the money, I can lose a lot of money, but I can get that only small premium from a seller of option. Selling options naked, that should not be done by retail crowd until they don't understand technical analysis, don't understand the aspects of markets. Don't sell options. Because you might think that, अरे buying में तो पैसा बन नहीं रहा है, selling में हो जाएगा. लेकिन problem क्या है कि it is also a trade and it has its own psychological impact, right? And also it is skewed towards negatively skewed. So options when you buy, you are positively skewed. आने को कितना भी आ सकता है, जाएगा तो कम जाएगा, right? So when you are positively skewed, you want to be buyer of option when there is a bigger movement about to come. So if everybody wants to buy options, the option price do what? They inflate, because the people who are buying options, people like you, me, institutes, all come under the same umbrella, all the market participants. When we are buying options, thinking that either side movement will happen and whatever will happen big, rather than trading on futures, rather than selling options, we want to be buying options, right? So in that case, we are implying the fact that there will be high volatility soon. We are implying, see the word implied volatility. We are implying it with how we are pricing the option, right? We are implying with that, okay. So Mr. Narsinga, that involves 2 to 3 layers of strategy. What you are asking is how do I deal with the premium in this scenario, okay? There are 2 to 3 layers and possibilities of strategy. So that I will teach you, since you have contacted my team. If you want to join the course, I'll teach you in the course, right? Because we have to understand first why these things are happening, how the market behaves. Until we don't see the essence of this, but then we don't know how to place ourselves, right? Because today, after the news, many things could happen on an event day, on a big event day, etc., right? So keeping those nuggets in mind is important. Let's see the other nuggets. So first of all, if we all are buying options, we tend to inflate the price of the options, which is implied volatility. Implied volatility, I showed you this column is there, right? Now, if you don't have a software like I do, it's completely fine. In the course, I teach you how to use the option calculator, which is available online. Free option calculator is very easy, not a problem. Okay, this is implied volatility, right? This is 17%. As we're going out, we see this 18-20%. As we're going more in the money, you see, sometimes depending on different situations, implied volatility is there. But there are implied volatility for puts, for calls, right? And the traders who trade also implied volatility, like they trade the implied volatility. That goes into option strategies. Okay. So when we are going to look into the impact of options, now if you are a seller of an option, similarly you would want to ask for more premium because there's an event risk and you're taking the risk of selling options, then obviously you want to ask for more premium. If you want to ask for more premium, how is it going to work out? Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? It is going to increase and inflate the option pricing. And if something is increased and inflated the option pricing, that we say the volatility implied is now big. Now this is before an event. Now suppose like that day, Modi ji now becomes the Prime Minister for the second time. It is confirmed. This gives a sense to the participants in the economy generally that we have stable. There is not much instability in the government. We have a stable favoritism for the government as the maximum seats have been won by BJP, etc. And also the price after the exit poll has started rising, so to speak, expecting the markets to go up. I'm talking in a little bit fundamental language, but the first day I clarified the difference between fundamental and technicals. And there's something called efficient market hypothesis. The market is efficient, and if it's less efficient, if it's efficient, it starts, there are different parameters. I won't get into details. If I say something wrong, I'll mislead people, so that is why. So now the price cools off. Okay, the market reacts, cool off हो जाता है सब कुछ. The uncertainty levels are less, and what happens is the implied volatility is falling drastically. Implied volatility is falling drastically. And when implied volatility is falling drastically, the option of the pricing of the option is impacted. The price is squeezed back down as implied volatility is. Now this is the date which happened, was on the 23rd of May, right? And let's go for the chart of India VIX and see how the 23rd of May was. So you can see over here, 23rd of May, the volatility had peaked a few days back on 23rd of May. India VIX is showing that the volatility is thudded down very towards very low levels of volatility. The VIX calculated on the basis of option prices, right? Look at and it's not a joke. It's one of the highest volatility in the past 2 to 3 years. This was 19. The highest we touched, this was 2015. So in the last 3.5 years odd, this is the highest peak of volatility we have seen. Are you getting my point? And if you are playing with fire, if you don't know what fire looks like, because when I teach people how to trade, I like to teach them every aspect which will help them to develop as a trader for the long term. Be it psychological, be it options, be it these different event-based situations. This is not funny business. You're literally playing with fire. You need to know what you're doing, why you're doing, what impact it will have on your future, on your career as a trader on trade by trade basis, on an overall basis. You need to know what impact it will have. And most people are not even checking what the impact will have. They go and tell to their friends, oh my god, look at this, options are very bloated. Why? Because probably big movement is going to happen. Probably the market is smart. The market wants to make a fool out of me, like it always does. Keep saying that and the market will continue making a fool out of you. Take a step towards learning something. Take a step towards seriously sitting and preparing yourself. Like when I sit, say for example, my students, okay, yesterday night I was having a word with some students. Actually, one of the students I was having a word with, he called up. So he was telling me, probably on this day or something, in the morning he came and he bought puts. So he knew what he was doing. 9:15 he went long on puts, and he got a good amount of money on a small amount of money on the same puts, like the multi-bagger type, So this guy knew which option strike price to have, what was my technical setup, what time of the day do I have to act according to how the market reacts, right? And this is happening day in and day out. The people are becoming smarter if they learn, and to be consistent, you have to be both smart and wise. If you do these two things, become more intelligent as well as become more wise, your job is done. And for those who ask me about options, from a general point of view, I'll say the retail traders make and lose more money in options. And I would say they lose mostly in options because they take in too much of exposure. They take in too much of delta by buying many, many lots. And then therefore, if the price actually works towards them and the gamma adds more delta, therefore the exposure increases. They can't handle the volatility. How many of you resonate with what I'm trying to say? How many of you have experienced what I'm trying to say? If you can't handle the volatility, have you ever experienced this? Right? Thanks, Darshan. Anyone else? 5-6 people have experienced it only? Only 5-6 people have experienced it? Okay, one more. That's it. So that means that first of all, in that case, I would say that many of you are actually jumping into options at the wrong time. Because when you see the price of the option moving, let's just give a simple example. Right now we were saying, if a retail trader comes and jumps on the option, just looking at how this option is behaving, oh my god, this is giving so much money. A few minutes back I saw it was 75. Few minutes later I see it's 103. Oh my god, this is going to go and catch fire. At least it will give me a few rupees extra. Or probably I saw it at 80, it became 100, whatever it is. Whatever it is. They get into the extreme because they see this volatility. They see this high level of delta and they see how cheaply they can buy it at. And therefore fear and greed both amplify to the power of 10 when it comes to options. Fear and greed both amplify to the power of 10. And that is why options behave the way it is behaving. Just like markets, I say, markets move in extremes and you can't stop that extreme to happen. You can ride the trend, you can get in the middle, you can't get the tops, can't get the bottoms every time. If you try to, be my guest, but I don't do that, right? But the point is, when it comes to options, you have to be even smarter. You don't just need to know the technical analysis, you also need to read how the option is going to behave. And never look at the option charts, okay? Never ever look at the option charts. Suppose I'm looking at the hourly chart of Nifty, okay? This is the hourly chart of Nifty, right? I'm looking at the hourly chart of option, okay? The hourly chart of Nifty and hourly chart of option will have a different kind of behavior. The 15 minute, as I go smaller in time frame, it will have a different kind of behavior. I don't need to really bother so much about that. That my targets, etc. are clear to me in the mind, right? Getting the point? So, on this note, if you have any questions related, it was quite excruciating thing mentally, it's grilling a little bit, brainstorming to do it in such span of time. But whatever the factors of options I've discussed till now, is that clear to everyone? Have you understood? Have you really found it insightful? because I've never taught options this fast. And also, of course, I've not taught all of it. There's so much more to it. There are more examples to it also. Okay, thank you. So I want to know how much of it you have absorbed, and how much, if you have any questions, you can ask. And then I'll take up the question by Mr. Narsingh. How can we deal with option when higher premium scenarios are there? Okay. First of all, Mr. Narsingh, what happens is that when we have got that what the impact is through these different factors, we have understood this factor as well. To many extent, we can choose the option to first of all trade with during these high impact scenarios. So first is you choose the correct option depending on, because what you are saying is a very broad subjective idea, right? But high premium scenario, you choose options how to deal with it. Okay. The second is, you know, the different outcomes that can happen. This can happen or that can happen. Different outcomes, you know. Right? The third is, sometimes you build a strategy around it, which is using more than one options. So it's like an option strategy using more than one option, right? So that is how we deal with options. That is how we deal with these different scenarios. And it's not just high premium scenarios. There's just one part of the story. There are scenarios where there's theta decay going to happen in the next 2 days. There are scenarios where it is, you know, whether gamma is becoming very, very high because just you're at the on the money option and you're seeing that the breakout is happening somewhere there. Okay. Okay, Mr. Karunakar is saying, yes, maybe it's not possible to clear within minutes or hour session. Confusing a lot, but tricky topic, I think. It is tricky because the thing is, you know, even I took a risk by taking it up, but if I showed you some example, if I at least explained you delta properly and gamma properly, and somebody sees the YouTube video 2-3 times, and they can make some sense out of it, I'll be more than happy. In the course, we give about 5 hours to options, 2.5 hour sessions, 2 days. And it is something we go in crazy details with a lot of examples and a lot of slides. So I couldn't do that because of the time constraint now, but definitely, you know, if you join the course, you can do that. And it is going to be a step-by-step scenario. Now, if it is difficult to understand option, that is the reason it makes you money also, right? If you see about if 5% of the traders make money, about 2% of the traders make money in options. 2% of the traders. Trust me, 2% of the retail traders make money. So this 2%, if you have to really become into understanding it, and it's not just about options, about markets in general. We really need to make money in the markets. It sounds like easy business from far, you know, from far distance, but you really have to see the professional side of it. I have worked with more than 100 traders. I have taught multiples of 100 students and made many of them full-time traders. So it's not a joke, which I've realized. The journey is not a joke. And all this, I personally, why do I give a 15 session course? But if you look at my YouTube videos, you'll see another 50 videos and you'll see detailed videos. Why do I come so often to live sessions? To go to my Telegram channel, you will see so many times I come to live sessions. Why do I teach for longer durations compared to teaching for a 1-day, 2-day workshop? Even the Pune seminar I had recently, that was a general seminar. It was a 4-hour seminar, but it was not topic specific. It was broader on technical analysis, and it was a free seminar for everyone. So why to go in these details? Because you require this. You require this. Or if you want to sit and dream that probably I don't require a lot of energy to make money. Probably I don't require a lot of hard work to make money, a lot of preparation to make money. No, if you want to dream, everybody else is doing that in the markets. Don't sit and dream. Work towards it. See, I'm saying learn from every source possible, any source possible, but also be careful because 90% of the things out there on YouTube and websites are crap. On markets, 90% of the data given is actually of no use to your trading. And the news channels and the notifications on your apps, you know, the apps which you see, the notifications which come, this happened in this country, this happened in this city, this happened in this government, all these are just impulsively enticing you. They're designed to make you addicts. They're designed like that. They talk about those stocks which are buzzing stocks. They don't talk about stocks before they're buzzing. They're designed to distract you. You can be there, or you can just keep your phone away for a few hours, attend my sessions, see, before attending my sessions, you can see all my YouTube videos. Go and see all my YouTube videos. They're out there for free. And then, keep those 2 hours away and your phone away and look at the charts like I do every day, every single day. And then you make money consistently in the markets. If you are ready to do that work, then use your hard-earned money. You work for the money, then the money works for you. It's never the other way around. It's very easy to say simple and smart things out there. The money works for you, the stocks are working for you and all that. And that is again, that language is designed to entice you. That language is designed to sell you something, a low quality of education for a high quality of price. Many places this happens. I have said this yesterday. This is the reality and the darker side and the gray area. When I started teaching, I thought the gray area was only the institutionalization of education. I thought that the colleges, I would say, if you need somebody to talk on this subject, I am there. Then I would realize the first time I did that with 2 colleges, I realized that I had to pay a hefty donation to come and actually speak. And that time I was not even doing anything for a paid amount. I was not teaching for a paid amount. I was just doing awareness programs then. And I realized that probably the institutionalization of education is taking the world down. 1/3 of India is actually crushed their self-esteem and their intelligence in competitive exams. A quota or a UPSC or a MBA, IM, all this is actually taking very few people in, and most of the people are crushing their self-esteem when they are so intelligent, so deserving. And you have 100 seats extra and you have 100 more people deserving. How does that work? So I decided, let's do this. Let's teach people how to actually get hands-on experience with the markets where they can not just use their intelligence, they can make the output without depending on anybody. And that is something big. You meet every second person, no matter which business they're doing, which job they are in. They're dependent on the company. They're dependent on the clients and suppliers. They're dependent on the debtors and creditors. It is not easy. There is a level of ecosystem which people do create, but it's not easy to pull it off. The dependency levels are high. This is the only business where dependency level is only on the electricity and internet connection. Nothing else. The rest is all in your hands. And imagine, it is a place where you can literally make a fortune, not even a living. You can make a fortune. So, do the means justify the end? You have to ask that to yourself. Am I doing that to justify the end? Or am I just flipping around, scrolling up and down Telegram and seeing if something can happen? Limiting my need for money, limiting my desire for money, feeling bad about that too. Money is a psychic energy. When I talk about psychology, I do talk about it. It is psychic in nature. You have to really be understanding where you are putting your parameters, what your value metrics are. If your value metrics are strong and well poised, very poignant with the markets and the trading and whatever is required, then your value metrics shine out. And if your value metrics are like, okay, I just want to make some money, or I make 2,000 rupees a day, I am happy, then so be it. Try and make 2,000 rupees a day. Try and do that every day and try and be happy after that. You will be even more confused. Don't set goals, set standards. Set standards for your work life. Set standards for how you are approaching the market. Set standards of how you're doing anything, any project. And then you will see how you shine out. Are you all with me on this? Any questions, please ask. Yeah, I'm getting some questions now. So option course कब करा रहे हो फिर से? Sachin ji, I'm not doing the option course at least in the near time abhi, but I will do it sometime. So last year I did it 2 times. This year I've done it once. So option course जब होगा तब फिर information आ जाएगी आप लोगों के पास. Not an issue. One of the things I will, the flagship course is the most important, which is the 15 session full course. And it is a lifetime course, it's not just 15 sessions, because even after that we stick together for lifetime. And the other thing which I would like to say is that just for, I have a thought, maybe I will do it, maybe I will not do it. I mean, if I do it, I'll do it in the sense, I did it twice last year. I think I will do a trading psychology course very soon. So that could also happen. But the flagship course, always one batch, 2 batches going on. So you can join that one. That is the most important. First, before any details, that is the most important. The fees for the flagship course, okay, it's 15,000 rupees, but you can just talk to my team for all the details of the course content, because you should know what you're paying for first. And it's all there on the website. What is inner circle is the group we have. So I've got all the students I've taught in the past and all the current batch students whenever the batch is going on. All are in a WhatsApp group. And then we don't do nonsense discussions. We discuss proper things, okay? And every month we meet together. There's a separate form they fill up with all their doubts and questions. Sometimes they take up a special topic for that day. And we have a long meeting, right? So that is what we do. Okay, Sai Prasad, what you can do is you can leave your number over here. Not an issue. So we go and, it's a big world, and making money in the market. Once you're in the right space, once you identify what your right space is, then it becomes an easy thing. If you've not really identified your right space, then it becomes difficult. So make sure you have your value metrics correct, and once you've started focusing on your value metrics and why you're doing what you're doing, then the how shows up, and the rest is just a game. The rest is just a game. Believe me, it's not even difficult. As we see right now, uh, we see this phenomena that market has made a new low and option has also made a new high. Okay, what I want to show over here is that as we are passing through even during the day, there is some theta decay happening. Okay, so if I calculate from this low to this high, this low to this high, if I calculate on this basis the delta or the movement ratio, it will be different, because theta decay is also taking impact slowly and steadily. And we have taken an on the money option. So still theta decay is low. If I take an option which is, we have taken a 5th September option. But if I take an option which is not 5th September, which is some other date, say for example, I take a near the money 11,000 put. Okay, I'm taking near the money put for 11,000. So let me just open that up. Here we go. This is how it looks like. This is more erratic because theta decay is taking place even during the day. Okay, this is the 15-minute chart of Nifty, and see this is the 15-minute chart of this thing. So it's the dips and the corrections are also erratic, and it is not making such a big new high where the market is making new lows. Okay, and obviously if it market plummets down further, it will make new highs. But I'm giving you a scenario right now. Okay, so cool. And so personally also my short positions have worked out in the market now, it seems. And at the same time, this is what you just need to monitor the trade, have clarity, even stop loss and target, have clarity on that. This is all you need. Believe me, sometimes like today morning, I don't have the time to go and post everything on Telegram. Okay, I need to be patient and have some concentration with my trade also. Not be psychologically invested in 10 places. That is why sometimes I miss out on some things on Telegram. But eventually, what I've realized is that you need to keep this balance even if you are at home, or even if you are at your office, when you are trading, depending on where you trade from, or you're trading full time or not, right? You need to keep this balance of concentration and not be emotionally invested in 10 places or 10 decisions. If you do that with balance, and in my, as I studied through the Chartered Market Technician course, as I studied through it, there were a lot of aspects of trading psychology that were taught to us also, right? That is why I talk about it so vehemently. Okay guys, so on this note, let's take a leave for today. I'm really grateful that all of you took your time, precious time out for me, and I hope you're enjoying these sessions. And I know many people are not used to the book and the classes anymore, but doing that right now, it has its own beauty and impact, right? So thank you so much. It was a very enlightening session for me too. I had great fun and hope you did too. So let's meet each other tomorrow again at 1 p.m. and place yourself properly, come on time, as many people come, I'll be grateful, and ask interesting questions. Thank you everybody. Thank you. It was an amazing session for me too, right? Uh, Thank you so much. It was great, awesome. And I will see you on the other side, and also catch up on the YouTube videos. Catch up on the YouTube videos because a revisor will help you, okay? By tonight, this video also will be up there, right? So thank you guys. Have fun. Take care. And yes, some people have been vehemently asking my team about the course. Just go ahead and ask. And you don't need to join the course. If you want to find out about it, find out about it. If you want to just enjoy time with me over here and first see all my YouTube videos, do that. Whatever you do, take progressive steps towards your growth. All right. So enjoy, take care, and thank you everyone.